Missouri State Representative Tony Lovasco is with us. He voted against the bill that would have put an age limit on walking the streets and packing heat. It's good to see you, sir. We appreciate it. Is the Guardian and Vanity Fair wrong on this?
Well, we certainly weren't talking about toddlers. Their headline, I think, was a little bit embellished there. But the reality is Missouri does have a very wide open carry provision in our Constitution.
I always want to be factual and fair. This is the police sergeant in Missouri, in St. Louis, Charles Wall, spokesman for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Under current state law, there is no minimum age to lawfully possess a firearm. That sounds like toddlers to me.
Yes, I suppose it is technically possible a toddler could have a gun. I don't know how that would mechanically work. I think the purpose of this discussion was to talk about juvenile crime. The idea that young folks are roaming the streets and they're carrying guns and they're going on to commit crimes. And I think that is a very real problem. I don't deny that. The question becomes whether it's appropriate public policy to retort that by making the mere possession of a weapon a felony for a child. And I don't think that's appropriate at all.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there any good reason for a 14-year-old to be walking down a St. Louis city street with a Glock? Probably
not. I don't think that's really the point. I think the question becomes, is it reasonable to predict that a child would do that? And the answer is yes. A lot of these people live in very dangerous areas. If I was a 14-year-old kid in some of these neighborhoods, I'd probably be tempted to carry a gun as well. You can kind of understand that. What we don't want to have, though, is a situation where we're encouraging more violence with the law enforcement. Ultimately, if you're going to tell a kid that made a dumb choice, who is scared of his neighborhood, or maybe there's a bully at school or whatever, and he decides that, you know, in his thick skull, it's a great idea.
Hold on, sir. I gotta stop you, given school shootings and everything else. We really want kids to carry guns because there's a bully at school?
No, absolutely not. Let me finish. My point is, if they make a poor choice, which some kids will do, what we don't want to have is escalated to an armed conflict with a law enforcement officer. You pin a felony on a kid if they get caught with a gun, and they're way more likely to use that gun against a cop. That's not what we want here.
Well, okay. So then how do we deal with 14-year-olds who are carrying around Glocks?
I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. We've talked about the concept of curfews. We've talked about cracking down on smaller crimes. Honestly, something as simple as allowing a law enforcement officer to detain a kid, call the kid's parents and say, hey, pick your kid up at the station, he's up to no good, would go a long way. But that's not what this legislation does. This legislation adds the definition of a prohibited possessor, the concept of being guilty of the crime of unauthorized carry that you would have if someone was a convicted murderer walking around with a gun.
Okay, but I understand, but we don't allow kids to drive cars under the age of 16. Why should we let them possess firearms? Because they're both dangerous things that require adult judgment, good training, and understanding how to use and an acknowledgement sort of in your own mind of the consequences of it. Do they not?
Absolutely. And to be clear, I'm not saying that 14-year-olds ought to be able to walk around carrying guns.
But that's the law right now.
Well, that's in the Missouri Constitution, sure. But we're talking about a specific proposal that would not only brand a kid with a felony, but by consequence, keep that child from ultimately, when they become an adult, from being able to lawfully possess a weapon for the rest of their life. That is wildly disproportionate. We want to start talking about letting the cops go after kids with guns. I'm open to that conversation, but this is not the solution.
All right. Hey, we always appreciate people who are willing to come on and talk and defend their positions. It's good to see you, sir. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.